Chapter 9. Anna in the Net. The life so short, the craft so long to learn. Hippocleides Histories. Moscow, July 9, 1991. Little Anna and Tony didn't even notice when Mother arrived home. Anna was testing a mutant program with racing cars bearing her and Tony's names. Mom looked at the scene with genuine surprise, but the true shock came as Tony started to praise Anna's abilities and assured Svetlana that Anna has all the talents needed to shame the Western program writers and to elevate the Russian mind to the very top of the emerging galactic network. Tony solemnly swore that one day Anna would become the best software engineer ever, and that from now on she's quite capable of maintaining her mother's computer. And of course he, Tony, was always available and willing to help at no cost. That night they ate dinner together, and Tony entertained the ladies by performing the dance of the whirling dervish. He knocked over a vase and it broke, but was readily forgiven, and rewarded with a box of a premium Indian tea, a scarce luxury in those days for the Muscovites. That night signified a pivotal point in Anna's life. She never had any doubt Tony was the one who inspired her unconditional devotion to programming. He also persuaded Anna's mom to write a request for Glasnet, assuring her that he had all the connections to make it happen. There were no limits to the ladies' amazement when in a few weeks Tony came back to them with great news. Americosis, that's how he referred to Americans, have given us an access to Glasnet. 10-year-old Anna, and formerly her mother, happened to be one of the first 50 users of the Glasnet in Moscow. This first network provided them with a very limited access to selected databases, but it was ever expanding and provided manifold opportunities for learning. When August of 1991 came, and the country was in the turmoil of emerging insurgency, Tony spent days and nights behind Anna's computer, sending letters, getting in touch with numerous international organizations. When the putsch was over, Tony proudly said that Anna's computer will one day end up in the museum, since it was on the front line, where the battle for freedom was carried out and won. In the months that followed, Anna helped her mother in acquiring the different data, very limited at that time, that she needed for her dissertation. One more year passed, and Tony announced to Anna that now they could be connected to the Relcom net that his friends have launched. Relcom, Tony explained, does not stand for reliable communications, as many at that time would say, but for Russian electronic communications. It was, he said, a 100% Russian endeavor, free of any Western financing. At first, it too was a very limited network, but in a matter of months, Relcom was officially registered in the pan-European network EUNet and became the largest network on the European continent. In 1992, Anna was already experimenting with the online IP protocol that provided a connection to the internet in real time and made it possible to use many network services apart from electronic mail. She was one of the first ones to have access to the File Archive FTP, a collection of files accessible for downloading by any internet user, which by the spring of 1993 was transferred to the World Wide Web technology. Anna wasn't Net's child, as would be the case with the following generations of boys and girls. Rather, she was its older sister, the one who was always one head taller and knows better. 13-year-old Anna was already writing programs for the net, but instead of being paid with money, she was rewarded with something more valuable than cash, an air of freedom, and unlimited access to the net. It was a time of non-possessors and enthusiasts in the internet community. The little girl became addicted to her computer to the point of dismissing other traditional fun and games of boys and girls. She did the minimum work necessary to pass her courses, and whenever she could, she would skip school, all for the sake of her fascination. Her computer was permanently linked to a larger world, and Anna could travel far beyond her home. Those electronic trips fascinated the little girl, allowing her to experience transcendence, an ultimate freedom from her apartment, from the miseries of her life, from the hostile world around her. At about that same time, computer viruses began to spread. Most of them were just innocent jokes, something like the congratulation postcards with a simple melody, but eventually they succumbed to a wicked evolution. The first serious virus Anna received on her computer was rather rude. It blocked all of her programs and maliciously declared on the screen, "Bastard, you're lucky this time, but for your own sake, switch off your computer now and don't turn it on until tomorrow." As Anna was attempting to fix the problem, another malicious signature appeared. "Ha ha! Ha ha ha! You've lost. Say goodbye to your fat." It took Anna a couple of days to restore the normal work of her computer. She fished out the wicked virus, saved it on a diskette, and spent another week studying its structure and designing a program to neutralize it. Never again would she be afraid of viruses. As a matter of fact, she started collecting them, and like every serious collector, she'd exchange her items with other collectors, always hunting for newer exotic species. She anonymously enjoyed elite status within the hacking community. Everyone needs some recognition, especially if you've been neglected. Anna had heard so many times at school from her neighbors, "All she does is play games." But Anna knew that this was where she belonged. In 1994, Anna exchanged her router for the multi-slip, and it opened up for her new and exciting horizons. Her electronic box and a phone line transported Anna to different worlds, covering enormous distances, introducing her to some interesting people. In cyberspace, Anna found that she could be anyone she wanted to be. One day, Anna came across an international message center for impassioned computer technologists. She had been surprised by her discovery, how ridiculously simple it was to break into computers. From now on, it became her new fascination. Often she would sit behind her computer all night long, her feet cold, her fingers almost refusing to find the right buttons. But the soul triumphed over the new victories. In such moments, Anna would feel big. Her heart would beat twice as fast, and she could see nothing but the dim radiance of her computer monitor. Anna became a brilliant cyber sleuth. The hum of the modem would make her heart beat faster, expecting a miracle to happen. Far, far away at her fingertips there was a vague light or distant music, or even an elusive fragrance, something full of hope and the promise of the ecstasy. There were illuminated windows outside, cars moving, people walking, but none of it was real for her. The only veracity she knew or was willing to recognize was her digital reality. Her pioneering mentality could not stand the information barriers that were now appearing sporadically. Her idea about the World Wide Web was to share, not to hide. She became a perpetrator, but her crimes were innocent. Anna would remain a mere spectator of life who couldn't stand closed doors. When Anna discovered that it was against the hacker's code to use one's real name, she came up with a new name, Joan of Arc. It was in the cyberspace that she met Mr. Anderson. His nickname was Anderson. Hans Christian Andersen was Anna's favorite fairy tales writer, and in her first message to Mr. Andersen, Anna only wrote 2 words, Hans Christian. He answered with 1 word, Yes, their friendship began. Anna first presented herself to him as an 18-year-old. How else, she thought, could she maintain her reputation as a white hat hacker, a rather venerated title in the cyber world? But very soon she admitted to him that she'd been only 14. Hans Christian, that's how Anna called Mr. Anderson, had taught Joan many hackers' tricks, but he also had given her some important life lessons, and whenever he was online, they would exchange countless messages. Anna used to share with him everything that was going on in her life. Hans Christian became her confessor, advisor, and sole friend. Little girl Anna was secretly in love with Hans Christian. Not a single projection of her prospective life, not a single imaginable glimpse into the future wouldn't include him, one way or the other, in the picture. Hans Christian became more than an imaginable member of her family. One night, when Mom wasn't home, Anna complained to Hans Christian that she was afraid of being home alone, especially at night time. On that night, Hans Christian sent her a simple lullaby that comforted her. "Lay you down now and rest, may your slumber be blessed." That night, Anna slept well. It became Anna's routine upon coming home from another tedious day at school to escape to a whole different world, where there was no mocking friends, no everyday miseries of post-Soviet life. Every day she would find a letter from Hans Christian, and then, as suddenly as he appeared, Hans Christian disappeared without even saying goodbye. It caused Anna a lot of grief because she had a feeling that something bad had happened to Hans Christian, and there was nothing she could do about it. She then submerged herself into a cyber world. It appeared to Anna to be her only salvation. Her brain would be going 1,000,000 miles an hour. There would be no more body, only a soul streaming with the electrical and optical wires to the destination, where she wasn't supposed to be, striving for forbidden fruit. She was a joyrider, fully enjoying the power of the net and the power of her brain. For the net knew no nationality, no borders, no age either. Only the talent mattered. If her mother were home, Anna would eat when reminded. She slept parts of the nights, but from time to time she would jump from her bed, receiving an inspiration, run to her computer, wake it up from its sleep, and resume working. The nearly prophetic words that Tony uttered about future netmasters and slaves in the meantime were gradually coming true. What Tony didn't quite anticipate, being more a child of the utopian socialist society, was that it would not be the cyber genius or cyber enthusiasts who would become masters in the digital world. The masters in this new and enigmatic world, predictably, but not obviously for Tony, and his friends became the old masters of the rest of the world, politicians and business elite. Anna, in more ways than one, took an active part in creating the cyberspace, and as every pioneer, she was claiming its waste territory. While Anna could still freely go through the cybernet, she couldn't help but acknowledge that in the new net, there were bigger fish, real sharks. Just to prove to herself that she could do it, Anna would break into the most secured sites and databases. Soon, Anna's targets became the Pentagon and NASA, the Kremlin, and all kinds of secret services. She had an access to information worth millions, even billions of dollars, but it never crossed her mind to steal or to sell it. She was surfing the web as another would surf the ocean waves, but in her case the feeling was further intensified by knowing that the entire thrill became an illegal one. Every minute could be the last one. Every click of the finger could bring the authorities crashing down on her. And one day, it really happened. The turning point in Anna's hacker's journey came, as it often does, with a knock at the door.